Hello, this is Frank Wiedemann from Arm, and today we are reading between the lines of our new track Pink Elephant, which just has been released on Innervisions, and it is actually the Innervisions 100 release. So this track, how did it start? Basically with this little machine. It's a drum module that I stumbled across on the Super Booth a couple of years ago. It's by I think it's a French maker actually who lives in Hong Kong. It's one guy, really nice. They call the Division Department, and they made this module called O1/EV or 4, I don't know, but it's like maybe 4 because it's 4 sounds. Doesn't matter. It's really nice and compact, and what it does is, I spoke a lot with this guy. It's kind of combining a lot of the features that I like on drum modules that I own. So you have a bit of Simmons in there, you have a bit of syncussion in there, you have a bit of Thomann in there, you have a bit of whatever. Like, there's so many historic relevant drum modules, and I'm collecting them a bit, but I never could take them with me on the road, so I was very curious about this little machine to actually add it to my live set, which hasn't happened yet for different reasons, but I use it a lot in the studio. And I was basically fiddling around with it, and that's how most of our tracks happen. It's just like starting with experimenting and playing around with one sound or with a couple of instruments. What it does, it has like 4 sounds. You can totally freak out with them, and what I had here is like roughly reconstructed these 3 sounds, so do like the main groove of it, and then I have the kind of signature percussion. First, maybe we have a quick listen to the track, somewhere in the middle. So you hear all of these elements already. There's the thing coming on. It's a very simple track. It basically consists of these percussions. Then we have the tom bass, which is also made with this machine. It's two notes basically, and a kick drum. And on top of it, there's just a drone. I think I even made that with this one because you can have ridiculously long decay on it. But I'm not sure, so forgive me for that. But however, you hear the track, it's super simple. What I figured out when I played it live, just so you know, it's very good for breaking up any kind of atmosphere that has been there before. Let's say you have a techno track before, you can play that one and change to something completely different. Or let's say you had you played like a, I don't know, super full-on vocal house set, and you just play that thing and everybody's like, huh? But they kind of, like, most of the time it just works that people are attached to it and then start to groove somewhere else. And that's why it's super simple. There's no harmonies, there's no melody really, there's only really the percussions. So quickly running through it. Kick drum, quite simple. A hi-hat that comes sometimes, I think that's been probably done with the electron cycles, not sure, sounds like it. Then I have these, I call them claves, which is obviously not really a clave, but it's like this one. No, kind of. Filter it a bit. This could go in different versions. And what I usually, if I would record this, and that's how it probably worked, I would just like record something and then divide it into parts. I'm just trying to recreate it now, but I would do loops. Obviously, I would probably even quantize them because I'm a lazy guy. You hear what I was trying to do is basically come on. This one I haven't. That one was the other one. So all these things you hear here, all done with this machine, right? So it's kind of right, and also that thing, that's quite a special thing. You have like this LFO here. You can see it easily turns into just a synth or something, right? Ah, there's the drone. Almost. And after we had that, it was quite easy to just, the whole arrangement was basically just played. Like I had all the stuff in my live set and then played it with the APC. That's how I play live, Akai APC, and then try to reconstruct it with the single notes, so I can mix them separately, and then only add a couple of things. There's the hi-hat that we added later. This thing showed you, and then there's like a tom. Is that one? Yeah, that one we added too, but it's not really necessary. And the last bit I added, which Christian didn't really like, but I love this kind of ride cymbal. I think it's actually a sample pack, yeah. And what I really like, if you can watch this on the screen, is like Ableton has this LFO feature where you can kind of, as in a modular synth, you can just modulate things, and in this case I modulated the transient, so it has a bit of a, you know, it's longer and shorter and stuff, and kind of gives it a little bit of life. Panning it also, that it goes like left and right, obviously, and then the fabulous fab filters, the EQ that probably everybody uses because it's just really good. Let's have a quick look on what else I use. The kick drum is a sample bank that I use often. Most of them are from a friend, I have to say, Mr. Schober. He's also mixing our tracks, Matthias Schober, really good. One thing I really like, it's this plugin by Eventide, Precision Timer Line. It's not cheap, I know, for what it does. But what it does, it's basically you can very precisely change the delay of the track. And exactly with kick drums, it's sometimes really, I don't know, it's about a feeling, if it should be before or after the beat. And I often have this just on the kick drum to see, like, to move it, because if you, like, in this case, it's before the beat, and it kind of gives because everything else is a bit laid back on the track, and this one gives it a bit of a drive when you have it just 5 milliseconds up front. It's weird, but it's what it is. What is this? Ah, this thing. How did I do this? I think that's just with the modular system, a little bit of a funky element, if you like. That's another thing you can often, it's quite a handy trick. The L2 is not only good for like pushing up the mix at the very end, but it's also really good to tame transients actually. So when I switch this off, this is very plucky, and when I switch it on, you still hear it, but it's like doesn't have so much attack, and so therefore it like kind of doesn't kill the whole mix. And it's better listenable, actually. And what you have to do for this is you just pull both down. Right, then you have to, at the end, you have to kind of correct it a little bit, maybe. Then the toms, just also sample from somewhere. The bass, no processing. and the drones also just low cuts. Then what I have kind of like my standard sound effects. One is always the little plate by Sound Toys, which is just a really nice plate reverb. I often have a delay. I actually like the Ableton delay itself, or the Echo Boy by Sound Toys. Then this microshift. What it does, I mean, you could use it to do tonal transpositions, but what it actually does, it kind of puts things in a room for me, because of the micro delay it does. I guess it's on here. Without it, it sounds a bit very dry, right? So what I added to all these percussions here is first the microshift, which gives the whole thing. That's not so much on it, is it? Yeah, it is. Here you can hear it, right? That's too much. But it kind of puts the things due to a little, very short delay. It's kind of like a pre-delay, basically. But especially on percussions, I like that, to have it to kind of sort it, bring it in the room. Then I have this Eventide Ultra Reverb, which I also really like. This is also very short. It's just a room also. I also use it to just give the whole, basically put any synthesized voice into a room, kind of. And the last bit is another ambience, is also the Ultra Reverb. So I have two different ambiences. They probably do almost the same. Yeah, this is like 300 millisecond, the other is 500. But it's like, you can hear the difference when I... Hello. Right, it does this. Without it, it's a bit not. It doesn't feel right for me. But with this, it's with the ambience stuff. It's always good. I learned this actually from using the Lexicon, big Lexicon reverb, which has amazing ambient settings. And just like a really short room setting, it's really hard to create on normal reverb machines, and Lexicon was always really good at it. And I find this Ultra Reverb actually does it also really good. So I would always consider to try that. Yeah, on the master, I mean, I have to say I'm never mixing my stuff, but I want to, like I said, Matthias Schober is mixing our stuff, or the albums are mixed by Chris Allen in Bristol. And but I always try to sound as good as I can, obviously, for the demos, because I often also just use those stems for my live sets. And what I have on the mastering chain is always kind of either this, the Fab Filter Saturn 2, in this magic mastering setting, which actually just gives the kind of tape saturation, the L2 to make it louder, obviously, and then this is a bit of a, the BXL, it's a bit of a mit Kanonen nach Spatzen geschossen, as we say in German, because it's probably very good limiter, but I just used that stereo imaging tool of it to make everything just a bit wider. So if it would be without, it would sound like this, right? No, like this. And with it, it's just opening up a bit. Oh, there's my... So if I would switch that all off, it's not only quiet, but it also gets a bit of a sound through it. It's just basic things. But that's it basically. If you have any more questions about how this has happened, this song, put them in the comments, trying to answer as good as I can.